Welcome back to Sports Dump, Lewis County's only sports podcast, sponsored by Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Gallery, Global Septic, Americool Heating and Cooling, and also this week only brought to you by the Chronicle's Athletes of the Year Awards Ceremony.
Hey.
Coming Wednesday, May 29th. That's tomorrow night at Jester's Auto Museum in South Chehalis. All your favorite athletes will be there. For the most part.
Most of your favorite athletes will be there.
A grand time will be had by all. It'll be catered. Kody will be performing. Zach will be performing. Dylan will be performing. What's your guys' talent?
I was told karaoke.
What song are you going to sing?
I don't know yet.
Some Bruno Mars, probably. Zach, what are you going to be doing in front of the crowd? Riding a bicycle?
No.
Juggling on a unicycle.
Juggling on a unicycle. No.
Cody, you're going to be doing some power cleans, right?
Yeah.
Cody's just going to hit the stanky leg for 90 seconds.
Observe that something heavy.
Check it out tomorrow night. Jester's Auto Museum. It's going to be great. Anyway, I am Aaron Vantile, joined by Chronicle Sports Crew, Dylan, Zach, and Kody, who have already spoken on this episode. And fellas,
the job is done. We can go home now.
Congratulations.
That congratulations was not for you, but for everybody you have covered this year who has actually finished the job.
Enjoy
job
your
will
summer, yes.
theoretically continue for another few weeks.
Pretty sure spring football starts like today, but
I saw, on Alaska was getting their field ready for spring football.
yeah.
You guys going to go cover some spring football? Is that what's going on?
No, but on Thursday, I'll be covering girls flag football between Tumwater and Black Hills. So, should be interesting.
There's a really good sandwich shop in Tumwater, you know.
Oh, my God. Here we go.
Spring state tournaments are officially in the books. We have one team champion to talk about. It's a familiar one as the Adna softball team went back-to-back in 2B softball, defeating PL Willapa Valley, Kittitas, and Borden en route to their third state title in the last four tournaments. Dylan was there. Kody was also there for the finals, but Dylan, tell us.
Yeah, their closest game was actually PL Valley. They were tied at 2.
Surprise.
Sixth. Yeah. Alyssa Carroll, I believe, hit a go-ahead homer in the bottom of the sixth. The next two games just weren't close, really, at all. Kittitas, I think it was a one-run first, I think. It was either one run first or second, and then they, put up 10 in the next inning. It was close for all of about 5 minutes. Same with the Warden game. Warden took a 1-0 lead. Kendall Humphrey hits a 3-run homer. Brighton Dollarhide, is that how you pronounce the name? Hits a 2-run homer. Annika Hallam hits a homer. Ava Sims just mows people down. Neither of those two games were really close. It was all Adna all day. And not that we really expected anything different, but it was just kind of I don't want to say coronation, but kind of just the coronation of their continuation of what's been a crazy dynasty over the last 2 decades plus, it seems.
This is this is before Kody was born.
Yeah, I mean,
I think since before us three, 11 titles, I believe, since 82.
Yeah,
I was going to say, it kind of started in the early 80s.
They went back-to-back in the 90s.
Good teams in the 80s.
Yeah.
Back-to-back in the 90s. The 2000s, they were really good. 2010s, they had some pretty good seasons.
And this is something that even Pocklington talked about, too. They probably would have 2 more if it wasn't for COVID.
Yeah.
Because of Haley Rainey missing out on 2 state tournaments in 20 and 21. Not that he really cared about that in the moment, but it's just kind of something he mentioned. What do you call you, Crown Boy? We'd have a lot more if... You want to explain that one?
What?
Well, Pac, after when they were lined up for the team photo.
Oh, yeah. He was... Pac, of course, recognized it because he taught me how to build a picnic table.
He also taught Chad how to build a picnic table.
And Chad, picnic tables and cornhole boards. Yeah. And I was like, I was taking photos. He's like, "Hey, Chronicle man, you tell your boss that's back to back." And then he goes, "You put that in the damn paper." And the whole team goes, "Oh."
That's pretty good. Pretty good.
People walking up to me too, like, "That's A1." I'm like,
You're like, how do you know what A1 is?
Yeah, that's kind of impressive that people know what A1 is.
Yeah, I didn't know that until I started working
gosh.
here. Yeah, I probably could have done a better Pac impression, but maybe another time.
I thought it was.
I mean, yeah, that's a pretty good. He doesn't sound like that, but no, good for Pac. You know, he's been doing this he's been coaching a long time. He hasn't been coaching softball a long time. He was
said he coached baseball for a while.
Pac was the high school baseball coach at Adna when Josh Fay was in school.
Wow.
To give you some perspective about things, I'm pretty sure he was.
He doesn't. I mean,
right around there.
Obviously, I'm assuming he coached baseball the same way, but he doesn't go any easier on the softball girls. He got emotional talking about how hard he is on the girls, and you know, Danica Hullum and Ava Sims talked about it too. Like there are times where you almost feel like he hates you as a player, but it's because he's pushing you so hard because he sees that potential. And it's obviously days like this where it all pays off. And he did that with the younger kids specifically this year. He admitted he didn't think they'd get back here at the beginning of the year just because they needed so many. You know, Lena McCloskey, I believe, is a freshman. Alyssa Carroll's a freshman. Brighton Dollarhide is an 8th grader. All these younger girls that had to step up. They all felt like they really just earned it more this year as compared to last year where not that they didn't do it this year, but last year they were really expected to just run through the whole season.
Yeah.
But this year they had kind of their bumps and bruises early. Some of the younger girls struggled, but everybody made those strides as you got deeper into April and into May. And that's what stuck out to all of them, just talking to them, is the growth of this group specifically compared to, and that's what made this year different to the, you know, none of these girls were here in 19, but the 23 team.
Yeah. All right, some quick stats for Adna's season. It's believed this is the first time in about 30 years they've won league, district, and state all in the same year. That's believable.
Yeah,
It's tough to win all those. A lot of years I feel like they've split with PL Valley or PL before that. Ava Sims finished with 202 strikeouts, and Kendall Humphrey finished with 13 home runs. Both are considered to be at or near the top of the school record books. While you were talking, I Googled Jessica Jo Sandrini's senior year to see how many people she struck out. She went on to pitch for Siena, and I think has their career wins and strikeouts record. Her last year was 2010, and her senior year she went 15-2 with a .5 ERA and 172 strikeouts.
Oh.
At the plate, she struck out twice in the season. She hit .574 with 10 home runs, 36 stolen bases, and 45 RBIs.
I think that's good.
They did not win the state title. She took Adna all the way to the state title game for the 3rd straight year, where she carried a no-hitter into the 8th inning of a 1-0 loss to PL.
Oh my goodness.
You know what? We used to make things in this county.
I think she recently got inducted into the Siena Athletics Hall of Fame, actually.
She's the best softball player they've ever had, so
Yeah.
that would make sense. But yeah, that used to be I remember I covered the Adna PL game during the regular season out at Adna that year, and she no-hit PL in that game. It might have been a perfect game. It was incredible. And at the end of the game, the Adna coach, I think Mike Rasky was coaching them then. He was like, "Yeah, we're gonna see these guys again. This isn't over." And yeah, they beat them. It was. Yeah, softball was different back then. Anyway, some more facts for Adna's season. 9 different Pirates finished with 10 or more RBIs. They didn't lose to a single 2B school all year. It's the 11th state title in school history. What will they do about the wall in the gym? Cody, do you have thoughts?
I think they just need to restart and make the writing smaller.
Paint it white and just rewrite it.
They've got
all.
4 more years till they run out of room on their little second column. And me and my friends have wondered this since the day they painted it up there, but they started the second column halfway down the wall.
Yeah.
And they could have started it at the top, and no one knows why. They also changed the font. I don't know.
I don't know much about the history of the Adna gym wall decision makers, but I like to think it was an older guy who was just start it. Older guy or girl that's start it in the middle, and they're like, what about 10 years from now? He's like, I'm not going to be here.
Right.
Play it
It's
in the
not
middle.
my problem.
It's not my problem.
Yeah, actually,
I think we should make the transition
far off.
to the thousands of different banners in the WF West gym. Hang on
They
the ceiling.
got too many banners in there.
They got
They're
top
just
8 banners
running
too.
out of space.
I don't know if I
It
have
was a
enough room
joke.
for that.
They're going to be hanging them off the bottom of the music
American flag
stands
that
for the
comes
band
out.
before long. Speaking of PL Willapa Valley, they went 4-1 at state, including 3 wins on day 2. to take third. Their only loss was that 3-2 loss to Adna. Dylan was there for all 5 games and talked to Eric Hopfer afterwards.
He was fired up.
Yeah.
After a couple hours of phone tag, he ended up just texting me. And I think, I want to make sure I read this back right. Very proud. They all came out jacked up on Mountain Dew and jumped on Lake Roosevelt like a spider monkey.
Hell yeah.
And then they kept it rolling. And then if our young team keeps building on what they have learned about themselves so far, it's going to get ugly. I think they only lose 2 seniors, if I remember right. They have their pitcher back, Lauren Emery.
Mm-hmm.
And like you mentioned, the 3-2 loss to Adna. I was talking with Dan, whose last name I just realized I don't know. He's from Adna. He's an older guy. He's at a lot of Adna and
Dan
Chehalis
Watson.
events.
Watson.
Yeah. We were talking before the Adna Kittitas semi on Saturday, and he was saying what I think a lot of people were thinking, where it's like, yeah, that PL Adna game was the true state title game. Yeah. Whoever won that game, and that kind of leads you into the next question of would PL have won state had they topped Adna, and I think they would have. They just
I think
there's
certainly a good case to be made there. It feels like there's always one of these games early on, like a round or 2 before, that when there's not an all District 4 finale, that you look at and you go, oh, yeah, that was it.
Yeah. It felt like it was a bigger game than just a quarterfinal, which is crazy because that's a big game in its own right. But
yeah. But the surprise of day 1 of the 2B tournament was Toledo, which scored 38 runs in 2 games. They came out, beat the crap out of Acosta, and then beat the crap out of Okanagan. Number 2 seeded Okanagan.
Something was in that Yakima tap water they were drinking.
Nobody knew what was going on.
Even Toledo, I think, was like, what?
Jordan Nalen came. He was bouncing back and forth between track. I texted him. I said, hey, are you at this Toledo Okanagan game right now? He said, I'm almost there. And I saw him walk up, and his eyes just bug-eyed when he saw the scoreboard. And he had the same reaction as me as, what the heck is happening right now?
Did Acosta throw Gilbert?
They did.
Yes.
Wow.
And
did Okanagan... What did they not have their pitcher?
They forgot how to field. They forgot how to play defense. I'm assuming that was their top pitcher, but
they've only got one. They've only got one good one.
I don't think Okanagan has faced an offense like Toledo all year. Clearly, if they don't know how to field.
It's kind of what Pocklington was saying, that District 4 always beats themselves up and gets underseeded.
Yeah.
That was a pretty darn good example of that argument. But
things didn't go as well on day 2. The Riverhawks went 0-2. They lost to Warden. They lost to PL Valley. Finished 1 game short of the 3rd place game. You talked to Jeff Davis afterwards, Dylan, who summed up their tournament perfectly by saying what?
What a difference 24 hours can make.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. The offense wasn't there day 2. Peyton Holter was getting, dinged up in the circle a little bit, and that's really all it took. It wasn't much. As much as there wasn't much in the positive sense on Friday, it just kind of was flipped in the other direction on Saturday.
Toledo, what were they, like the 10 seed?
Yep.
Toledo being a 10 seed and coming in as the 4th highest seed out of District 4? 5?
Something like that, yeah.
Because they had to win the crossover game to get into state, right? They had to beat Coopville.
Yeah, I think they were the 4th high because Acosta, Adna, and PL Valley were all above them, I think.
Yeah, but... and Forks.
And 4th.
Oh, and Forks, yeah.
So, yeah, they were
4th, yeah. So, because they got the bye into the quarterfinals. Toledo did. So, yeah, they were the 4th highest.
I forgot about
that's going to be a
Forks.
wild statistical anomaly someday to look back, like doing homework on these tournaments, being like, Toledo, the 5th highest seed out of District 4, came in to score 38 runs in 2 games.
Yeah. I forgot about Forks because they didn't pull an Okanagan in the sense that they got destroyed, but they lost to Warden in their quarterfinal.
17-15, I think, right?
That was a wild game.
Yeah, looking at those scores, I was like, oh, man, like, Adna's going to be fine. Like, they have a pitcher. And
and that should be enough.
Absolutely right. Also in Yakima.
And we're back.
real quick, the Warden Adna game got dicey for approximately 20 seconds when Warden actually had the bases loaded down 4. But then Ava Sims just struck someone out. So that's pretty much how the season went. And the one time at every 4 games, things got close, an Adna player makes a play, and that's that.
Yeah,
I think
they're pretty good.
I don't think
solid.
anyone was really worried when the bases were loaded either. Like,
Yeah,
even,
worried feels strong. It was more just
Yeah.
like, hey, something might happen,
yeah.
maybe.
Like, and even I was watching Ava Sims while she was pitching, and every time she'd walk someone, like the Warden dugout would be going crazy, and she'd just be like smiling, like, "Oh yeah,
But
like, whoa, whatever." Yeah,
Before that,
watch this.
before that
3
AB
pitch
with the
strikeout,
bases
yeah.
loaded, she said the competitor in me got a little angry when she walked up to the plate with a smile on her face.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Adna softball team just treating this like Daryl Strawberry in the Simpsons softball game. All right. Also in Yakima was Mossy Rock, which went 1-2. They finished a win shy of the third place game in their final 1B tournament before moving back up to 2Bs in the fall. Dylan talked to Coach Keith Coleman, who's excited for the things to come.
Yeah, I think they're going to benefit from going back to 2B. 1B softball is a unique place. Most of the good teams, it kind of seems flipped from 2B, where most of the good teams seem to be from the East.
Yeah.
And I think Mossy Rock, I think they'll be better against better competition next year. That's kind of what Coleman was saying too, that, you know, because early on this year, they were playing a bunch of 2B teams. And when you go back and forth between, you know, facing the, you know, Hannah Fays and Ava Sims, I don't know if they played Adna. I think they played Navavine at some point, down to Naches, who they could put 25 up on in their sleep. It's just kind of an odd, from a competitive mindset, when you have to go in battling half the time and not half the time.
Yeah.
And you saw that in, not that they weren't battling, but just the difference. I don't know. It's just, it was weird to see it kind of play out in real time, the difference between them just thumping Naches like that, because Naches was the worst team in the tournament, versus going up against these East Coast schools that, you know, they actually have pitching and East side. I don't know. Nobody knows.
Elitists from the Spokane area.
East coast of the Columbia River.
All right. Yeah,
it was
it'll be good to see Mossy Rock back in the. I think everybody is excited for Mossy Rock to be back in the 2Bs.
Yeah, I think even they are. There's a reason the 1B tournament's down to 8 games.
Yeah.
Or 8 teams.
I think it'll take them a couple years to adjust, get back to like district level, or I think they'll transition will go smooth.
Yeah, I think they'll be competitive.
I think it depends on the sport, but
That's
for the
true,
most
yeah.
part, they'll be fine.
In softball, they should be fine because it's
Softball,
a young.
they'll be fine.
That's a
Both
young team.
basketballs will be fine.
Yeah,
Football might not make the playoffs, but should be competitive.
volleyball should be fine. Maybe.
Yeah.
Might be iffy.
I don't think they're going to be bad in anything, though.
No, they won't be
No.
bad. They're kind of. I feel like they'll be middle of the pack and will contend for state tournament berths.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah,
think's
they'll be
harder,
all right.
going from 11-man football down to 8, or going from an 8-man program to an 11-man program?
8-man to 11-man.
Yeah.
8. Yes.
Well, if you're that good at 11-man and drop down to 8, you would just stay competing at 11-man, and everything else would go down to 1B level. Which
They
I
have
feel
enough-
like that's probably been done before. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but
They have enough bodies for 11, man. I went to,
For sure.
they play a crossover. The way Josh, I don't know if this is entirely true, but the way Josh explained it to me was they always let one 6-man team into the 8-team playoffs for some reason. And the 16 team they played was Northwest Christian, who had approximately 13 guys on the entire team. And Mossy
So
Rock comes
they
out
should be
looking like a
playing
2B
11-man.
school.
yeah,
with like 40 kids on the sideline. It's like, oh, they're going to be fine in 2B.
yeah.
Well, they have to do that because there's a 6-man league, and they let that happen.
Speaking of the mic, Cody,
What? I thought I was.
prop your mic up a little bit. You keep it so far away.
Okay,
No, use
whatever.
the arm.
Now it's pointed at my forehead.
Good.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Yeah, I swear it's pointed up. Like I need to point it at my mouth like this.
There you go.
Okay. I
There
won't
you
move.
go.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry we had to do this live on mic, listeners.
It's okay. What were we talking about? 6-man football?
Goebel Septic. If you are as bad at finding a place to take a dump as Cody is,
I
at
swear I could
finding
hear
the
myself in the
microphone,
headphones.
call Goebel Septic, providing portable sanitation and septic service for Thurston, Lewis, Mason, Cowlitz, and Grace Harbor counties, septic pumping inspection and riser installation, commercial septic pumping, grease trap services, and of course, they will rent you a porta potty or a portable sink. Visit goebelseptic.com, GOEBEL septic.com, or give them a call at 360-736-2167.
You could have just turned my volume up on your little motherboard there, and this could
You're
have all been
already
avoided.
the highest.
It's halfway up. I can see it.
You're also cranked up on that part. Higher than everybody else.
Whatever.
Moving along. Zach went to Sela, which is near but not quite in Yakima. 2A softball tournament occurred at Carlon Park. Tumwater beat Ephrata, Aberdeen, and North Kitsap on the way to the title game, which it lost to number 1 Cedro Woolley. Zach was there.
I was. Very good game. Tumwater had their chances. Left 2 runners on base in the 3rd and the 4th inning. Cut it down to 1 twice. Had the winning run at the plate in the bottom of the 7th after Ella Ferguson and Jesse Haas reached base. Marissa LaPrame had a little dribbler to the pitcher, and that was it. But, excuse me. A very competitive game. Tumwater, definitely not a 6 seed. They definitely outperformed their seed last week. They'll be back. They've got their only graduation is Megan Paula, who was their primarily designated player. So Ella Ferguson's back. Jesse Haas is back. Marissa LaPrame. They're some of their better hitters. And obviously with Ferguson back in the circle, they're going to be in a lot of games. And Ferguson told me that it's vowing that 2025 will be their year because she wants to enter senior year out with a bang. And I think that was kind of the vibe I got out in the celebration, because there weren't tears. There weren't an outpouring of emotions. There was they'll be back because of what the roster will look like next spring.
All right. And then WF West and Rochester both lost their opening round matchups and ultimately fell short of state trophies. You want to give us some info on what transpired there?
That was a long day on Friday. I mean, both Rochester especially, they got there. Joni Lancaster told me they got there at 7:30 because they played a 9 a.m. quarterfinal game. They didn't leave. Their last game did not get over until close to 9 o'clock. I think it was 8:45. So that was a long day for both WF West and Rochester to lose in the quarterfinals. Then you got to win 2 more games just to even get to Saturday. And they were at 1:30, and then if you win the 1:30 game, then you play at 6. It's a long day. Both teams responded fine. Rochester kind of ran out of gas against Linden. Errors really costs Rochester in all 3 of their games. WF West had they kind of broke out the bats against Shadle Park, and then Shadle Park, sorry. And then Taylor Tobin kind of dominated the circle against Franklin Pierce. Monroe Dalrymple came in, I think, the last 2 innings and kept it going. So, and then you run to Aberdeen for a 5th time, and it's who has figured out the other opponent more, and in this case, it was Aberdeen. But that's going to be WF West. It'll be interesting to see how they do next year because they lose 5 seniors, right? 5.
Yes.
5. Stacia Flush is the big one.
Yeah.
And
Ella Young as well. And Lena
Fragner. So, Addie Froschauer, who is their number 2 hitter, is going to have to really step up, continue on what she had. It was a very good year this year. Avalon Myers will kind of have to be responsible for much of the power because it was really her and Stacia this spring. So it'll be more on Avalon's shoulders next spring. Their pitching will be fine. Dalrymple and Tobin are back. So it'll be a different looking WF West team next year, but one that should still be good. Rochester only loses 2 seniors, and Lancaster was telling me that next year is championship expectations in terms of league and districts and a deep extended run at state. And they'll have they lose their catcher and their center fielder, but Lena Demers will be back, and I can't remember who one of their better hitter. Cheyenne Justice, and their slap leadoff hitter. She'll be back. So yeah, the FCO will be just fine in our area next year with the three straight qualifiers bringing a lot back for the 2025 season.
All right, now I got to ask you guys, how was your Airbnb over in Yakima?
Which one?
Yeah, which one?
The one in which you spent most of your time. I heard you
nice.
busted a pipe
Okay,
first
so
one.
That happened
So here-
before we got there.
So here's what happened. So I am
On the way there, actually.
Yeah,
when
we
that
are
happened.
all within
Wow.
an hour away from Yakima. I get a call from Airbnb support saying that a broken water pipe happened.
Naturally, they would call you.
I'm the one that booked it. It's under my name. So yes, they would call me. So I get a call, and this is at like 1 o'clock, and
Zach was our vacation dad.
we'll go with that. The lady tells me that broken water pipe happened that day, and we can't stay there. And I'm like, okay, well, this is a problem because we're all within an hour of getting to Yakima. We're all working in Yakima this weekend.
We're
so
all
it's like,
driving separate cars.
we're all driving separately. So
just Fast and the Furiousing your way over to Yakima.
So-
A busted pipe.
I'm like, okay, what's the best solution here? So we eventually get settled in Ridley finds a cabin near Naches, which is
Naches.
on like
Naches.
the outside of
it's on the
Yeah.
outskirts of Naches.
It was
but
like
All of Naches is the outskirts of Naches.
it was like up towards Chinook Pass, kind
Yeah.
of like northwest.
As soon
so
as you could no longer see a fruit stand, you're in the outskirts of Naches.
so we
what was
get
it
it
called? Eagle Rock Deli and Grocery.
Yes,
You know where that's
Jesus.
at? Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's the
You know where
cabin.
that is?
There is a
Oh,
small set
Aaron goes
of
way back.
cabins
Aaron goes way back
directly
with that
behind.
place.
I stopped by like a Black and Mild there one time. Go on.
We stay. So that's where we stayed Thursday night in a cabin with bunk beds. It was
Look, man, we needed a place to stay.
a grand old time.
I was editing track photos on the top bunk, and I had to like crunch over because it's too close to the ceiling.
You mentioned we got settled while Ridley found this other place. We were in a McDonald's for about 2 hours, which during the time, a couple Tudor Lake baseball players came in and started playing on the playpen in the McDonald's. And we look over, and I recognized a couple of them. Zach Swanson was there. I think Connor Cox was there. The guy that I looked over, I didn't recognize, but he's over there. All of a sudden, just like he's on like this like standing seesaw thing with like a random little girl. I thought it was super funny.
And they were just they were just seesawing.
Cody was just sitting
seesawing
there
back and
furious.
And all his teammates were just like standing outside the playpen, just like taking a video and like laughing. And he was just seesawing with this little girl in the McDonald's playpen.
So yeah, we're in McDonald's waiting to figure out where the hell we're staying. We go to Zoppel Stadium for day one of state track, and then we go to Fred Meyer, get stuff because we need food. So
We got hot dogs and
we got
buns.
hot
to
dogs.
clarify, and firewood.
Doing a camp out.
Yes.
It was
a grand old time.
You guys went down under the bridge and just built a little fire.
Yep. No, there was actually fire pits with little grill things on there where we cooked the hot dogs.
All right. Anyway,
It worked
what
out
I'm getting
wonderfully,
is-
Aaron.
Turned into something.
This is not long enough. Was the place you finally stayed well appointed as far as furniture goes?
Yes.
Oh,
No. My bed was so uncomfortable in my room, man.
Oh,
Boy,
My
Cody,
back still hurts.
this was
do
a
I have
setup?
news for you?
This was a setup.
You can visit our friends at Elam's Home Furnishings.
Are they
and
expanding to
Sleep Center.
Yakima? Oh my God.
They have not expanded to Eagle Rock, 100 miles from Yakima.
But when those Airbnb people move to the wonderful town of Centralia and or Chehalis, where should they get a new bed, Aaron?
You know what? Elam's has a Memorial
Yeah.
Day sale currently running. Save up to $900 on Serta iComfort Eco mattresses when paired with a select adjustable base. That's probably better than editing photos on the top bunk in a goddamn cabin in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, with no service and
Just waiting for a man in a hockey mask with a machete to cut your power line.
Exactly.
what a setup.
All because Zach booked the wrong goddamn
I didn't book the
Airbnb.
wrong thing. Don't blame me for someone else's water.
Shout out to Clyde, our host. He was very wonderful.
Was it Clyde Drexler?
That would have
No.
been cool.
It would have been cool, but
Was
no.
Clyde the cabin man?
No,
No.
Joshua was the cabin.
Yeah,
man, I
Josh
think.
was the cabin man.
Shout out to Joshua. We had water waiting for us and snacks, all kinds of stuff in there, man.
Wow.
Or games. It was great.
Have you guys heard of hotels? Like,
What?
The only one was Motel 6.
Which the McDonald's worker specifically warned us against as we were talking about going to the Motel 6.
I saw who's that sports reporter from the TDN that wears like the sweaters? What's his name?
Anthony?
Dion or Dan?
Yeah, him. I saw him at Ephrata, and I was like, "Yeah, we started an Airbnb
Oh, yeah, Dion was
because
there.
we were gonna stay in a Motel 6 because Dylan forgot to book a hotel. And he's like, oh, I stayed there one time. I'm at that Afraid to End this time. And he's like, which isn't a lot better, but.
I think Jordan said one time at that Motel 6, his toilet seat literally was split in half
He did say
somehow.
that.
And it was like two separate, it was a left and right to what should be one object.
I mean, have you seen butt cheeks? What's the issue? Anyway, Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Gallery, 1530 South
wild.
Gold Street in Centralia. Visit them online at elamshf.com.
My God.
Zach, do you want to start the oven? Get something boiling? Because this is where you can cook.
Track with Zach.
Let me cook.
We had we had 7 individual champions. We had Tony Belgiorno from Morton White Pass won the long jump. Josh Meldrum for Rainier won the 100. Carter Phelps won the 110 and 300 hurdles. He was actually in the 1Bs. Not 2Bs.
1Bs. Yeah.
PL's Carter Phelps. I was looking through pictures and I was like, man, I hope I can figure out which one is Carter Phelps. And I saw him and I was like, oh yeah, that's a Phelps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lewis Koser from Oakville won the discus at the 1Bs, and Lucas Hoff from WF West won the pole vault in the 2As. On the girls' side, Carson Freeman from Adna repeated as the 2B discus champ. Can she throw it as far as her sister?
No, she's still about 20 feet shy.
Yeah, her sister's.
Because Carly's got the 2B record, I think, of 166.7, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Carson's still quite a ways
Didn't
away.
her sister throw it like USC?
Yes, I think so.
I remember like covering beats her sister was in. Not to take anything away from what Carson's doing, she's great too. But when her sister was in school, the like athletic.net stats had come up and it'd be like, well, this can't be right. And then anyway, Carson Freeman repeated his 2B discus champ.
What did that 1A kid run in the 100 meter when we were there? It was just like a crazy time.
Oh, I've got it. Oh, yeah. Do
you remember the time?
Yeah, it was like 10-4.
All right, we'll get to that real quick. Okay.
That's
And
all right.
then also from Rainier, Ella Marvin won the pole vault on the girls' side. All right, Zach, go ahead and cook.
Marvin was also a repeat title. The two, Meldrum and Marvin, produced the two coolest stories, I would say. 3 weeks ago, Josh Meldrum was puking and dehydrated after running the 4x1 at the C2BL championships in Kalama. And he walked to an ambulance under his own power, but he had to leave. So he had to withdraw from the rest of his events. He told me that that's kind of when he's really started to take care of his body and things kind of, made sense to him to be in good shape and diet right and drink plenty of water. And he prelims drops a PR at 11.14 and finals drops another PR. Did not have a great start. He was actually, I would say, about third or fourth. And then he last 50 meters, he just turns it on and drops an 11.12 to win.
Dropped a gear and disappeared, man.
And he was a good person to talk to. He was very surprised that he won, but he was obviously very happy. He said he was going to cry, or he thought about crying. He probably will.
Think about crying, probably will.
Been there. I get it.
Phelps was the most dominant. I think a lot of people thought he would sweep both, but both races, as good as Phelps looked, they were very competitive. There were two Evergreen Lutheran kids that were like right on his tail, and had it not been for in 300 hurdles, clipping to the last hurdle, and in the 110s, if not for Phelps's pure speed, he could be a 4-time state runner-up.
Yeah.
So Phelps really had to, like, as good as he looked, he had to look that good in order to win, because he was pushed well beyond his limits. And Ella Marvin, the 2B girls pole vaulter, she's got a knee injury that she has no idea what it is. It's on the inside, like her meniscus area.
Uh-huh.
But doctors have not been able to actually figure out what's wrong. She's been to the doctor, she told me 3 times, and no one knows. So that's only a little concerning. And she didn't pole vault this year until April, and she was very concerned that she might not be able to pole vault at all this year. And then she goes out and wins the second straight state title, and will likely be the favorite to three-peat next year, along with Carson Freeman, who she said that her sister's record is probably unbreakable.
Yeah, I would say so.
I would be very stunned if a girl's going to do it, I would say Carson is probably the one that could add 20 feet to her discus throw, but it is quite unlikely that happens. But you don't really see a lot of like atmospheres that are like kind of like, special when it comes to discus. But when Carson made that throw of 142.5, like there was audible oohs and ahs as that thing was up in the air. And then as soon as the mark was announced, like everyone around that was associated with Adna erupted. And Lillian Boyd came over and gave Carson a big hug, which as a girl that just transferred in this year, like I thought that was pretty cool.
I just Googled her sister's discus stats.
It's insane.
When she was a senior, she had the third best throw in the country that season. At the Shameless Activators meet, she threw a discus 173 feet.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
Damn.
And she's now she's now Carson's coach.
Yeah, so she probably lined up at WF West to throw the discus and tossed it into the gym. Let's see what Rainier girls finished 4th, 2 spots ahead of 6th place Adna on the 2B girls side, and Peel boys finished tied for 5th on the 1Bs. Adna boys took 5th in the 2Bs. What and this goes to you, Zach, and Cody. What stood out most from the track championships?
I really liked the venue.
Yeah, the setting was pretty cool.
Really?
Yeah. Zoffel Stadium is a good place to host it. I wish the track, like the start-finish line, was flipped because it's behind where you can see kind of the mountain or like the
hills,
the hill area. Like I think that would be a great backdrop on it, but that was my only like nitpick. But like it's a really good site and everything's really close together. Like where everything is like from the field events because they've got the long jump and triple jump pits, and then behind the main stands they've got all the throws. Like it's a really nice setup for a state track meet. I really enjoyed it.
I thought everything was well, I was there for a day, but I thought everything was pretty well organized too. Like everyone knew when everything was happening and who was supposed to be there.
And they got ahead of schedule on the running events. Like
that's awesome.
Like they do not. What I really like and appreciate about it is that they did not like start a running event early. Like they kept to a schedule, and more times than not, they were ahead of that schedule. So like there was like several times on both Thursday and Saturday, the 2 days that I went, there were consistent like 5 to 8 minute gaps between the end of one running event and then the start of whatever that next running event is.
Oh, that's awesome.
So do you think if we lined up all 3 of the Meldrum triplets, they would all be the same speed?
No.
I was just wondering that. Like genetically, you would think so, right? Because they're the same.
Well, why? One of them won the 100. Why didn't the other 2 also?
Maybe they
win
didn't do
100?
track. I don't know.
Yeah, what did the other ones do?
Basketball? I don't know.
I think one of them's in a relay, and the other one,
How are they not all in the same relay team?
One of them's in a relay, and I think he does long. I think he's a jumper. Is it? Who's the other? It's another J first name.
Jimmy?
I think they're all
There's Josh, Jake, and
Jake.
yeah.
Jake.
I think it's Jake.
Okay.
He's in one of the. I know there's another Meldrum in the relay, and then Josh does long jump too because he got 3rd. But I'm pretty sure there's another Meldrum that is in a relay, and I think he jumps too, but I'm not 100% sure.
If one of you 3 are listening, I apologize for not knowing your names.
Right.
I'm sure they've heard it before.
Fairly confident it's Josh, Jake, and Jimmy.
Jimmy?
I don't know if that's their like official name, but
Official.
Okay.
Oh, that's their nicknames.
I don't think Jimmy's probably not on his birth certificate. You mentioned a kid running the 100 and the 1As? Or something?
Oh, that was just like a crazy time we saw when we were there.
Okay,
he broke
so
his own state record by like 0.2 seconds.
This was an actual eyewitness, the most egregious false start in my life. Not called. No, this was during the Saturday finals. It was that same kid from Seattle Academy that dropped like a I can't remember what the time was. It was like a 10 something.
10.64.
Yes.
In
And
the
then
prelims.
he's in the finals. He leans forward a little bit and starts at least 2 meters ahead of the gun, and they didn't call a false start.
Really?
State champion.
He's got a first place medal to prove it.
I'm standing in the pole vault with like a couple of the pole vault coaches, and we're all watching it. We all see him false start, and then they don't shoot the gun again, and we all look at each other. We're like, that was as clear of a false start as I've ever seen in my life. And yeah, it was.
I don't know what you're talking about. They didn't call a false start,
Yeah,
so it looks like he's state champion.
I couldn't believe it. It was, for as long as I've been doing track and covering track, that was the most egregious false start I've ever seen in my life.
Do you remember what his final time was in the finals? Because the 10.64 was the prelim.
10.5 or 10.4 something.
Oh, yeah. Because I remember the original record before that first heat, they announced it as 10.83. He runs a 10.64. Ooh, from everyone. And then the second heat, a kid runs a 10.7, which would have been the state record. But nobody really cared.
Oh, yeah,
someone just ran
there's a story
10.6.
with that 10.7 kid. There's a story with that kid too, but it's not podcast appropriate.
Oh, I remember now. Never mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So last week, Zach gave us his lead pipe locks of the week. We're going to go back through them here. He gave us 7 lead pipe locks, apparently.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure the only one you actually called the lead pipe lock of the week was the girls discus winner.
We'll get there. Zach predicted infallibly that Tumwater was the favorite to three-peat. Tumwater girls track, no. They finished 10th because team track titles don't mean anything.
Okay, here we go again. My God.
Moving on.
And you also predicted that Rainier would contend for a state title. Yes, they finished fourth. Was this girls or boys? Girls.
Girls,
Gotta be
yes.
girls.
Rainier girls. They
finished
did
fourth.
leave with a trophy. They left with a
I guess that's a
team
contention.
trophy. So
You predicted Carter Phelps had a good shot to win too. Yes.
Those being the hurdles runs.
Yeah. Right. Carter Phelps from PL, a 2-time state champion and deserved. And you predict there will be an area girls discus winner in the 2Bs. Yes, Carson Freeman. You predicted one of Tumwater's girls relay teams will win a title. That seems kind of like a gimme, but the 4x200, the most obscure relay race. Sure, get that one.
Okay, if it's so obscure, why do the boys not run it?
Exactly.
It's just the girls.
They don't
Why
even
not
bother.
make
They're
why
like,
not
"Hey,
make both? Why not have both run it? I love the 4x2.
Sure.
It's fine.
You predicted that Tyler Price, that's the Adna kid, right?
Correct.
Had a good shot in the 100 or 200. He did have a good shot. He finished third in both. Kody, is third place a good shot?
Well, what shot were you thinking he was going to hit?
I figured top 3. I mean, he
Well,
was,
then, yeah.
he
Yeah,
had
he
he had the
predicted
state
it.
he had the state lead. He was tied for the state lead in the 100, and he had the state lead in the 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that leads me to believe that he had a good shot in both events to win or finish top 3. So I say sure is
Yeah, that's good enough.
that's good.
I
enough.
think that is locked.
All right,
confirmed.
a lead pipe lock. And finally, you predicted that either Lucas Hoff or Amanda Bennett would win a field event. Yes. Lucas Hoff is a state pole vault
Unlimited. Yep.
champion. I'm going to delete that one.
I'd
off the
like to
board.
think that was the wrong button, but I know it wasn't.
Yeah, it
not-
wasn't.
it was not the wrong
This for
one.
Lucas Hoff, state champ.
Zach did pretty good.
Blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
He finds a nut 5.5 out of 7 times. in this case. This podcast. How is the weather situation in your guys? How is the climate? in
Oh,
your-
it's beautiful.
How was it
gorgeous.
within the confines of the cabin you were forced to stay in?
I thought
What
it
was the weather
fine.
like in there?
You know, it wasn't raining, but I'm glad it wasn't because I took a look at the roof before we went in there, you know, being a retired
This
roofing
is-
expert.
Cody, this is Sports Dump.
Oh, my bad.
Was it warm or cold?
It was. I took a look at the roof and it didn't look that good. And I think because of that, it wasn't insulated. So I was pretty cold.
Well, you should have called AmeriCool Heating and Air Conditioning.
I bet they would have been there it's a half hour from
If you
Centralia.
called
If I
their
called him,
emergency service line at 360-559-6677, I'm sure our friends at Americool Heating and Air Conditioning would have been there to improve the climate conditions of the cabin you were staying in. Your comfort is their business, much like Clyde, your friend from Airbnb. Americool provides full-service HVAC installation services and repair with a 100% satisfaction guarantee.
Just
on
like this
everything they
podcast.
do.
Just like us.
Just like this god-awful podcast.
they make house calls.
Mute you. Visit west.americoolonline.com.
I was trying to help Aaron.
You did great, Cody.
I need to retire.
He a little confused, but he got the spirit.
I just want to say Aaron's batting 1,000 on these ad reads, setting up these ad reads. He's batting 1,000.
I'm batting triple zeros.
Our next ad read, the Yakima Sub Shop.
Closed on Sunday.
Closed on Saturdays and Sundays.
And some
What, it's
Fridays.
closed the whole weekend?
Yeah, they're closed Saturdays and Sundays.
What?
I know.
That's outrageous.
All right, we're going to wrap up our coverage with some baseball, and you guys left them off the notes, but Tenino, third in
I
state,
knew I was forgetting someone. Yeah.
the best baseball team in the area. No respect. The Stone City boys.
Shout
the
out Rube for
Beavers.
going up there and helping us out with that coverage. He saw them twice. Tough break that first game. They allowed 2 in the bottom of the
Yeah, it
seventh.
sounded like a rough break.
It was a it was a wild pitch that got to the backstop. They thought it might have hit the batter, which would have been a dead ball. At first, a controversial call. Later, the video came out. Not
Maybe
really much
not.
you could do about it. Yeah.
It was also like, yeah, it was a controversial call, but they had like 2 errors that put him in that spot. Which, to be fair to everybody involved, like it happens and it sucks that that's how tonight's season went down. But still, like they had a great year.
Yeah. They bounced back to it. That went over Cedar Park Christian, I believe.
Yeah.
Who lost? They lost to in the regular season. I think 6-4. I think so.
They played both of those teams in non-league games in the regular season.
Yes, they played Overlake
That's
in the
weird.
season opener back in March.
You know what that is? That's just good scheduling by Tenino's athletic director, Nick Bamer,
yes,
friend of the podcast.
Shout out, Bamer.
The
Yeah.
goat. The
Former
goat.
back. It's just before you guys started.
Right,
Bamer used
okay,
to
okay.
do the podcast and pound beers back in the day. Good dude. Anyway, yeah, that's how tonight's season wrapped up. 3rd place trophy, best baseball team in the area. And then we wrap up coverage with the Adna baseball team, which lost a heartbreaker in a rematch with Tri-Cities Prep. 1-0 on Friday. Cody was there. And then they lost to 10-0 in the 3rd place game. Cody, how you feeling?
Damn.
Was that the right button? I don't-
Music.
That's not the right one either.
I've forgotten all these.
We got to start
buttons,
labeling these buttons.
Do you want me to hit
You
hitting buttons?
keep
or-
trying. Keep trying. That's how I feel.
Oh, that's okay. That's better.
Peaceful?
No, no
yeah,
comment.
you were over there. You were over there on Friday.
I made it up for the
Still
game.
going. It's
I mean,
still cricketing.
Yeah.
Okay, you're
yeah,
good.
It's all right. Yeah, I mean, TCP's pitcher was just shoving the whole game. They just couldn't put the ball in play. I think he had an 80 pitch, 1 hitter,
pretty
pitch
good.
complete game. Yeah, they just, and I thought that TCP's defense was playing lockdown too. Like everything, even when they had to make tough plays, they always made the plays and got the ball to first. It was just tough.
Yeah.
The 1 run that they drove in, got to 3rd on a balk. It's just unfortunate.
Oh, that's tough in a game like that.
Just didn't fall their way, much like last year. But that's baseball, man.
Yeah. Who pitched for Adna? Was Percival thrown there?
Percival
It
pitched.
looks like he must have thrown a pretty solid game.
Yeah, he pitched, I think, the first 6 innings, and then they went to Nakano, who did fine too. They got, I think that kid reached on a single. Oh no, it must have been a double, and then the balk put him on 3rd. They drove him in. And then outside of that inning, there really wasn't any offense at all. There was this girl there who was taking photos for Northwest Sports Photography. She's like, "This is the most boring baseball game I've ever watched in my
You're like,
life."
shut up.
You don't know ball.
I was like, no. Yeah.
You were like, you shouldn't even be allowed to go to college, let alone cover sports.
Oh my god! I thought we were past this.
That's a news dump reference.
Yeah. Well, we're making lots of cross references this episode, so if you guys listen to
Is this
both,
crossover city?
yeah. I listen to neither, so
All right, neither do I. All right. Adna finished 4th.
yeah. And like to kind of recap how I felt about that game, I saw Luke Money at the softball championship the next day, and he comes up to me, he's like, and Luke's my friend, like it was all in good fun. He's like, Cody, I got a bone to pick with you because I took the photo of him like sad after the loss, and he's like, you really use this as the first photo? And I was like, okay, first of all, I don't choose which photo goes first.
I did, and I absolutely used that photo.
And I said, second of all, do you think I wanted to take that picture of you, Luke?
Yeah.
And he's like, that's a fair point.
It always cracked me up covering state softball that like entire baseball teams just show up and be hanging out in the outfield.
Yeah, that's what happened.
That was always fun. All right. Also, we had some golf and tennis.
We did.
You guys wanna expand on that?
enthusiastic.
Golf was earlier. I may have forgot to put
golf
that in.
feels like it was weeks ago, and really it was like this time last week.
Well, yeah.
Well, at
Tuesday,
the beginning of the
Wednesday?
podcast, we'll put in a little note that says, if you're here for golf and tennis, skip to here.
Yeah, skip to the 51-minute mark.
So they don't have to hear all that stuff that just went down.
I'm going to rattle through. I think they'd be missing out. I'm going to rattle through and hopefully not miss anyone. We'll start on the girls' side in the 2A with golf. Natalie Eklund finished tied for 4th,
Pretty good.
I believe.
Nice.
Went into the day in the top 5, stayed up there the whole day. Grace Owen finished tied for 17th with Black Hills' Ellie Johnson. And then Abby and Madison Alexander, also from WF West, finished 26th and 34th, respectively. WF West, as a team, finished 3rd.
Pretty good.
2.5 points behind White River and 28.5 points behind someone else. I wrote White River again, but fix that.
Probably not White River.
Probably not.
One of them's White River. And on the boys' side, Von Wasson took 5th. Centralia's Von Wasson in his final outing as a Centralia Tiger. And then Jack Kassler from Black Hills made it through to day 2 and finished 18th, tied for 18th.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that. Oh, and Tenino's David Dallaire on the 1A side also finished. I think he took 19th in the 1A tournament.
And that was
Made
it.
through
They
to day
played at
2.
Riverside, didn't they?
They did.
And then 2B and 1B out in Tumwater Valley. Braden Salmi from Adna finished tied for 13th or solo 13th. And then Rainier's Josh Peralta finished in the 20s, I believe, as a freshman. So first career state meet for him.
I think he was the first Rainier golfer, if I remember correctly. I think the MVN wrote something about that.
And last one for Salmi, who will actually continue his golf career at South Puget Sound Community College.
Nice. Cool. And then tennis, Woods and Huford?
Wood
Yep.
and Huford took 8th on the girls' double side in the 2A. They went 2-2, I believe, losing in the opening round, but then winning 2 straight to get to that 5th-8th match. And then on the boys' side, there was 2 singles players from WF West, Justin Chung and Javen Hahn, who played 6 months. That's, the boys' tennis season ends in October or November. They both lost their 2. Just talking with Megan Wallander, the WF West coach. They played well at times, but it's kind of tough. What I learned, too, is I don't know if this is universal, but she was saying that a lot of the East Coast schools don't play until the spring.
It's the East Side.
East Side. I keep saying
Keep
East
saying
Coast.
This is only the second time this podcast.
Yeah.
It's okay.
If I hadn't, it's the East Side teams. If I had a nickel for every time, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened
Still
twice. Yeah, so the East Side schools play in the spring, so they come in having played meaningful high school tennis at any point in the last 6 months, whereas the WF West kids have come in having not played since October or November. A little odd, but it is what it is, I guess.
All right. Any other stories from Yakima you guys want to discuss? Miners? Did you guys go to Miners?
Did
The
go to
most
Miners.
overrated burger place in
Oh,
the state.
please.
That's fine.
We
It's
did
mid.
right before we left. It was good.
Very good.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's fine. A little salty for my liking.
I don't think it's overrated or underrated. I think it's just
It's
right.
properly rated.
Properly
Properly
rated?
I think it's
rated.
properly rated.
It's fine.
Yeah.
You guys watched that Minions movie?
We watched
Did you guys,
most of the Minions movie.
Yeah, we
Did you
tried.
guys spend all your nights in a cabin? What happened?
No, we just spent the
Night
one
one.
night.
The first night was in the cabin. 2
The
nights
last
after
2
that
nights were in the house in Yakima.
very nice Airbnb
Falling
house
asleep to
in the
the Minions
suburbs.
movie.
Yeah.
All right.
One, I did want to mention this. This isn't Yakima
There we
related
go.
or anything. This is basketball recruiting related. Bryn McGahee from Colfax will be announcing her commitment on Wednesday, which is tomorrow at 2:00.
Just in time for the Athlete of the Year Awards.
She's actually going to do it live at the Chronicle Athlete of the Year Awards.
That's what it's. Player
She's our girl
seen.
basketball
She's in-
athlete. Sorry, guys.
She's in 2B, and she's one of the best players in Washington.
good.
She listed a top 12 back in February, but she's only taken 3 official visits per her Twitter page, which is
There's
to
like UConn, USC, and
Washington, North Carolina, and Iowa are only 3 official visits. So I would imagine
Was
that
her
she will.
visit
I wonder who Zach's rooting for.
was her visit before or after?
They were all around.
retirement.
They were all around February. They were, and so this would have been
Before Lisa
before
retired.
Bluter's retirement. But Jan Jensen, who took over, has said that every recruit in the 2024 and 2025 class is still committed, and they have not lost anyone in the portal since Bluter retired. So it'll be interesting to see where McGahee decides to play college ball.
all right. You guys got anything else? Can we wrap it up? We'll be back in September, August?
August for football, probably.
Do some preseason football stuff in August. Well, somebody will. I don't know.
Whoa,
Maybe I'll
whoa.
be dead by then. It's a long ways off.
There's no sports dump during the summer?
No.
What? No one
You
told me
can,
this.
you can focus your energies on news dump.
Oh,
Those sick setups for
Yeah.
the roof doctor.
think of how much better I'm going to be when we come back.
Yeah, Coda will be legally an adult when we come back. So
I don't think he will, actually.
No, I think he's still a couple years away.
Guys, I'm like 19 and a half, okay?
thanks for listening
If you
this
say
year.
in half, you're
Cody,
too young.
for the first time, just talked into the mic. We will talk to you. At the
I'll be back in
Thanks,
August
y'all.
to not talking to the mic.